All right. I would like to welcome you to the New Beginnings podcast with Jay Jackson. We are here in our interview series for the celebration of conversation. And I do have some special guests on today, some people that I know very well. I have my brother and my sister in love as my guest today. As a group, they are known as Rhetoric, an award-winning. I don't even know all the ways to describe your accolades and what you've done in the community. Is what you all do to me is more than poetry. To me, it's a ministry. The lives and the people that you have impacted with your work and your gift, and how God is using you. But before they were Rhema Rhetoric, they were I Am a Writer and Black Butterfly. So thank you all for being my guest today on the celebration of conversation.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. It's an
All right,
honor
so
to be here.
absolutely. So as you know, like I said, this is my brother and my sister, beautiful married couple. Of course, my sister, I've known her for like, what's say now, about close to 9, 10 years, almost now in the totality.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. And my brother Chris, of course, I'm 40, finna be 42. So I've known him almost 42 years of my life. So, since birth.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere around there.
So I appreciate y'all for being my special guest on the day, man. Don't forget to all the listeners out there, go subscribe to the New Beginnings podcast. You can follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere where you get your podcast, and you can find the New Beginnings podcast. I want y'all to definitely like, subscribe to the Testimonial Tuesday Biblical Teaching and all of the other interviews. So we're glad for the new year, glad to be back in this space. And so as we speak to Rhema Rhetoric on today, I want to focus on this gift and what they do. And we're going to learn just a little bit more about them. If you're watching this through social media, many of you may already know them. They are very well known. Like I said, they are award winners, multiple award winners in what they do. And so before we get to Rhema Rhetoric, I want to speak to I'm a Writer and Black Butterfly. And the thing that I want to ask, and either one of you could take this question first, is when or what made you fall in love with poetry?
I'll let the woman go ahead, and I'll be cordial this morning. I'll let her go ahead first.
Well, for me, I was always fascinated with words. From a little girl, I was always fascinated with words and how sentences were put together, well placed sentences. And I took an interest in it early on. Um, and then around the age of 13, my mother bought me a journal. And that's when the writing started. And I haven't stopped writing since.
Okay. So you said around the age of 13, that's when you took so when you started writing, you fascinated with words, because if many of you don't know, and I keep calling y'all by your poetry name, but this is my brother Chris, my sister Taneesha. Many times on social media, if you follow Taneesha, please follow her page. You put these riddles and different words and meanings on your pages, and sometimes it's funny seeing the comment, because it's very hard to figure out some of these riddles that you put, like the who am I stuff. So with your writing, like, it's one thing to fall in love with it, but I see this passion in you with your writing and your words. At 13, was that passion there, or is it the more that you wrote, the more that you discovered, you became even more passionate about it?
It was a gradual thing. So even while I was writing back then, it was more like, just journaling. And I would write like a few poems here and there. But I think when I turned around, maybe around 21, when I really, really it just started kind of downloading into me, where I would write the poetry. And that's when I started saving my work. So I may have written some stuff like way back then, but like around the age of like 20, 21, that's when I started saving everything that I wrote. So it was a gradual thing.
Got you. All right, Chris, that same thing. When did you fall in love, or why did you fall in love with poetry?
Mine was a little bit, maybe a little bit weirder. I actually fell in love with words from the reading aspect. Those that know our family know a couple years ago, our older sister passed away, Regina, and our older sister was very intricate in the rearing of me as as her younger brother with reading. She would always read to me from just a plethora of books, would read me stories. And so she really made me fall in love with reading and storytelling, all the way to the fact that I would go to school, and if they had a book that had a story in it that didn't line up with the one that she read, I would be mad at the teacher, like, that's not what the story say. So from that aspect of reading, I started to just read different books. One of my favorite books of all time is still a book of poetry by Shel Silverstein, Where the Sky Ends. And I just started to fall in love with the stories and the poetry formats. And it so happened around about my freshman year in high school, I had a lot of kids in class that were reading and writing. And we started to research at Central under my poetry. Well, actually, my English teacher, Mrs. Evans, and she had us studying Edgar Allan Poe. And a girl wrote a poem in class, and she was very happy about it. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, well, I said, well, anybody can do that. I said, if you know how to read and you know words, you can write something. And she threw out a challenge to me. She said, well, I'm going to challenge you. She's like, I'm going to give you like one day. She said, I ain't going to give you a long time. She said, I'm going to give you one day and you got to write something. Since you think you know words and you can read real well and you know all these stories. And I was like, okay. So I went home and sat down and started thinking about some stuff. And I read it, and I read a couple of the books that I had at home. People that are from like the suburban area probably know a lot about the Book It program that used to be inside the schools. And I was a very interested person in the Book It program. I would just go to the library and read books on top of books. You know, it kind of had an underlying goal because I like the pizza. But yeah, I would read all the books at the Booking program and went home and I wrote the piece. I did it in class and everybody liked it. So from then, I just started doing different writings, different free writes, writing with different formats. Of course, then spoken word and poetry wasn't really, really big outside of being taught in school. So I didn't really share it with a lot of people. But it was really, like I said, our older sister with all of the reading and stories and sparking that interest. And then upon that challenge, it just made me start to be more interested in it and pursue it more often.
Okay. And before we get to Rhema Rhetoric, I got maybe about two more questions. The first one is, as spoken word artists, as poets, many writers you hear they get writer's block, many musical artists, because spoken word poetry is all part of the arts. Some people hit a roadblock where they lose their motivation, or they say for artists they lose their muse, what motivates them. You both spoke to kind of what was the origin of where you fell in love with poetry, why you write, why you fell in love with words. But and both you hit these kind of at younger ages, high school. Taneesha, you said 13. And now that you both are older, what keeps you motivated to continue to write? Because you both, you can simply follow both of your pages on Facebook, and you both will put like brand new poems up. It could be, I don't know if y'all have wrote them that day. Y'all would do stuff live. You all are yet creating fresh content and material. So when you look back at your lives almost 20 some years ago, how are you yet finding inspiration and motivation to come up with fresh and new creative and inspirational content?
For me, I recognize it as a God-given gift. A lot of times when you see us posting, some might be old, but a lot of it is things that we've been inspired by. And inspiration can come from anywhere. Right now, we're, well, I don't know if Chris is I don't know if he's participating, but I'm trying to stay in the challenge where I'm trying to write at least one poem a day. I'm a few days behind right now, but I've been trying to, get in there. But the inspiration can come from anywhere. Um, and the inspiration, what keeps me interested is the fact that I recognize it's a gift. And sometimes it's like I get the urge to write, like some people get the urge to eat. Hungry.
What you
I
said
like that.
is very valid. The inspiration can come from anywhere. One thing that definitely keeps me motivated is the factor when you're dealing with the arts or as it relates to any particular gift, as you start to learn more about it, it keeps you interested. There are so many different forms when it comes to writing poetry. There are so many different genres that you can, put with it. You can do it without music. You can do it with music. You can talk about marriage. You can talk about the things that are going on in politics, things that are going on sociologically. So when you're going about your normal day, it's very easy to grab that inspiration. And of course, everything that we write doesn't always end up as a complete, let's say, a performance piece. Sometimes you can just be like she said earlier, journaling, putting something on down on paper. We both have multiple writing avenues. We got journals and notebooks all over the house. You may just come in and write down a few lines. So those small things definitely keep you interested as you're continually molding your craft. Because even with what we've achieved now, we can't necessarily sit here and say, oh, we've totally arrived. We're the best at this. There's no one that compares. This is a continual journey.
Okay, dope. So now my second part to that question is, and I'm glad you said something about everything doesn't become a performance piece. I've seen you both perform together as Rhema Rhetoric. I've seen you both perform individually. My next question is, when it comes to performances, and you both have, and you stated, Chris, that some of your pieces don't even make it to the performance. So that means you both, I don't want to put a number on it, but you have multiple poems that you've written.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My amazement is, and I know you have some spoken word people that they read off. I've seen spoken word people freestyle. How do you all remember all of these poems? And I've seen fresh stuff. I've seen you do some repeats at different stuff, but I've seen you guys do fresh, and it's like such a flow when each of you do your pieces. It's such a flow, and I'm looking at the performance at the same time. The way my mind is wired, it's like, how are they remembering this stuff? And I've been to a few performances. I've seen stuff you've done live. I've seen stuff y'all put in. Like, how do they remember this stuff? Because it ain't like no 7-line stanza. It ain't no haiku. Y'all be hitting some in-depth stuff. Like, how does your mind? I don't know if y'all at home practicing it because y'all both work, got family, y'all got life going on. And my thing is that, how do you have time to sincerely memorize the stuff and then get up in front of a crowd? And I guess a sidebar to add into that, the nerves sometimes, because anytime you get in front of people, those nerves, those butterflies, how do you keep it all together? Or what's your preparation before a show? I've always wondered that. I wanted to ask, like, how do they get to this finished product? Because you got life going on. You may not have no time to sit and study and memorize. But when you get up there perform, both of you just have this flow, this thing about the way y'all do it, y'all captivate the crowd. But what is y'all preparation, or how do you memorize it? Is it just repetition, going over it constantly, or is it in that moment, boom, I just got this, it's coming out?
For me, it's never, I got this, it's coming out. I always have to practice. But him, it might be that way. But for me, I always have to practice. As spoken word artists, many people have different techniques. But for me, I'm always in practice mode. Always in practice mode. So repetition is definitely the best remedy for me to get in preparation. So, like for instance, like if there's a piece that I'm doing for a specific event, like if it pertains to the event, the moment that I hear about the event, I'm practicing the piece. I record it, I listen to it. And then in my free time, if I'm getting ready for work, I practice it. I practice it in the mirror. I practice it while I'm getting ready. I practice it in the shower. I'm always in practice mode. Now I don't know how to prepare, but that's how I do it.
I'm definitely on the same plane with the repetition. Definitely takes prayer because things can fade away. But it's like when we see like these award shows and these old school concerts, and they call people like LL Cool J or Run DMC, and we looking like, you released that album in 1981. It's 2024. How do you remember the lyrics? Some things, after you do them so much, they stick. They like stay there. And like she said, our most frequent pieces, because we're doing them so much, they kind of don't fade away. But it is repetition. I'll do the same things that she mentioned as I'm going about my day. I'm a truck driver professionally. Sometimes when I'm in my truck, nobody's around me. It's a quiet moment. I'll just run a piece through my mind, and I'll just be driving my truck, reciting the piece. It doesn't have to be necessarily for a show. It'll just be a piece. And when we perform together, we got different cues, different things that we're listening for as we're performing that we'll bounce off of. So I'll know when she's getting to the last line of a stanza what the last couple of words is. So I'll know what I'm listening for that kind of triggers me to go into my next part.
Got it. Thank you both for that. And as you begin to talk about how you two kind of vibe and feed off each other when we performing together, that leads us into Rhema Rhetoric. Now, you both were very, from my perspective, established, popular individual spoken word artists. And thank God for the unity of marriage between you both. You both are still performing individually. But then Rhema Rhetoric came about. Why Rhema Rhetoric? Why not just be Chris and Taneesha Jackson? I am a writer, Black Butterfly. Why Rhema Rhetoric? What was the foundation or the idea that created I don't know if to call y'all the artist. To me, I've seen ministry in Rhema Rhetoric. I've seen inspiration. I've seen so many things that have come out of it over the years. But what was that thing that started where y'all just sit on the couch one day and be like, yo, babe, we need to do something together. We need to come together. Or did somebody else pitch an idea to you? Hey, you two ought to form something together outside of I Am a Writer and Black Butterfly. What was the foundation? How did that just come together? Hopefully we're going to get into more what Rhema Rhetoric is now and what it's developing into and growing into. But what was that foundational piece that brought it together?
So in 2016, okay, so that's the year that we met, that's the year we got engaged, that's the year that we got married.
Snatch me up.
I didn't snatch you up. But 2016 was that year. So I started performing poetry in 2015. So hanging out on the poetry scene is where I met Chris here. And because we are both poets, of course we went to a lot of open mics and a lot of poetry events together. And eventually it gets to the point where everybody is like, are y'all gonna ever perform something together? And that time came at the 2016 National Poetry Awards, where we were asked a couple of months before that to perform. And that piece was the one that we dubbed as the love piece. And that's where it began in 2016, the National Poetry Awards.
Okay. So when they asked y'all to do that, and you do that piece, the love piece, at what point did you two know? It could have been at that award show when you knew this is going to be something more than us just getting up here together as husband and wife performing, because I've seen you do it at churches. I've seen you do it at, like a poetry scene. And like I said, it's more than just you two giving a poem or a piece. I've seen it be more than inspiration. It's been ministry. At what point did you two realize, or maybe what performance, when you were out there looking at the crowd, y'all doing y'all piece, and you like, this is something more. This just ain't somebody asking us to do this. This is going to be impactful. This is going to be inspirational. It's going to touch lives. That this is going to be something more than what we ever could have dreamed that it's going to be.
I think it became kind of upfront for us when we did a presentation at a gentleman's church named Jeff Watts, very popular gentleman, works with the community a lot. And we went there, because people started seeing us doing the love piece and people started requesting it. And we was like, we still weren't looking at it like it was going to form into something like this now, because at that point, I don't think we had even put the tag Rhema Rhetoric on it, because Rhema Rhetoric, God actually imparted that to myself, and I brought it back and I told my wife, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's wonderful," because we know, like in the spiritual community, the word Rhema is accredited to a fresh word, and then rhetoric is basically anything that's English, words and writing. So it was like I was just in the car. I was like, man, that's nice. A fresh word, Rhema Rhetoric.
Kind of like a play on words in a way.
So I brought it back home. She was like, oh my God, that's lovely. So we started using that. But when we went to his church, he pulled us to the side afterward and he said, I want to challenge you all. And we was like, what? He was like, when you all go out to do shows or whatever, he said, stop saying that you're doing a performance. And we was like, and he said, I want to challenge you all. He said, start saying that you're ministering by way of spoken word. He said, stop saying that you're just performing. He said, start saying you're ministering through spoken word. And we started doing that. So like when people would call us, we'll say, okay, we're doing a ministry. And as time went on, we started writing more pieces collectively. Now, true, some of our pieces are a combination of things that we had individually, but it was like God was giving us insight to learn how to put things together and, again, where to bounce off of each other, because we are each other's biggest critics. Her probably a little bit more than me, because her editing skills are second to none. Her editing skills will probably make the writers of the Bible scared. Her editing skills are just stellar. She's not gonna let a word be out of place. She's not gonna let there be, unauthorized usage of sentences and verbs. Me, I'm a little, hey, this is the way I got it. So this is the way I'm spitting it. Right. But once we started doing that, it just catapulted us to a different level. And we just started understanding that, like you said, what we were doing is more than just giving out words. So we've now adopted it as it's a ministry.
Yeah. And as you can see my shirt here, it says marriage plus poetry equals ministry. So that's kind of the tagline we've been using even on our clothing, and that's become a part of us. So people know us as the married couple who does they call us the husband and wife team, poetry team. So that's what we're known as, and we accept it. That's what people see when they look at us.
Good. And I thank you for bringing in that poetry and marriage, I really feel like you was entering my mind, because my next question is going to be something based off marriage. As you do the poetry, now we know as a married couple, you spend time together, and every marriage takes work. So you all are coming together. Some married people spend too much time together, you're sick of each other. Not saying that y'all do, because you both, I'm sure y'all had y'all time apart, but now that you, like I said, there was one point you both were established individual spoken word artists, but now you two come together. And as Chris said, creating pieces or taking pieces you already have and coming together. Taneesha, thank you for those accolades you gave her as an editor. But sometimes you may have to look at her and be like, I didn't ask you to edit that line. I wanted that in there,
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
how, as Rhema Rhetoric has come together, how has that helped your marriage even come closer? Because I see a closeness coming from it. I don't see it bringing y'all division, but I believe it's developed and brought y'all even closer. How has you all coming together in the form, like say, it's poetry plus marriage equals ministry? So we heard about the poetry, we know the ministry part, but how has that impacted your marriage when you came together to form Rhema Rhetoric, and you're putting these pieces together, and I say we're not going to say performances, but you're ministering? How has that helped the marriage grow? And I don't know how you all want to describe it, but I believe that it's had a positive impact on your marriage.
Yes.
I'll let her play cleanup on this. I'll go first. Just because I know, just as men, naturally, we can be a little prideful and stubborn. So, in the positive part of it, it has allowed me to be actually, honestly, more submissive, to understand that, because, like you said, there are some times I didn't ask you to change that word. I want to keep that word the way I wanted to keep it. But as we're working together, it has built that closeness and understanding that I can trust and listen to my spouse when she's giving sound and wise advice. Because when we do go out and minister, if we're doing this together, if she looks bad, I look bad. If I look bad, she looks bad. If I mispronounce a word, they're going to look at Rhema Rhetoric. They're not necessarily looking at I'm a writer. They're like, okay. And then a lot of people know her with those editing skills and that attention to detail. So they're going to be looking like, she really let him get up there and say that. So it's definitely taught me that there are times that, even as the priest of my home, provider, protector, and all of that that goes along with it, there is a way that I can be submissive. It does also allow us to build with one another with the understanding of each other. Things that she prefers, things that I prefer. It builds us to be able to work together. It's definitely a work with initiating that time management, because we do have to carve out rehearsal time and all of that with life and everything going on. So those are like those base key things that apply to marriage, because in a marriage you have to know how to know when one person has to be submissive or to take the advice of another. You have to know how to give good time management. And we all know in marriage you have to be understanding, because there will be times that people forget. Although you're married, you're still individuals. You have individual thought processes, individual passions, individual goals. So definitely for me, it's definitely taught me how to be just a better teammate, instead of just always being just that individual ruling with an iron fist, because it definitely takes teamwork.
And where I come in at is where I'm doing the correcting and saying, like, okay, you can't mispronounce that word. You know, I have to explain to him that it's not, I'm picking at him or picking on him. That, this is how we better each other. This is a team effort. And just like he said, if he looks bad, I look bad. And I'm not trying to look bad. So I want him to look good as we look good as a team. You know what I mean? So, but I have to be, that's where I have to be like that soft voice and say, I'm not coming for your manhood. I'm really I
Mm-hmm.
want us to be I want us to look good together, and we have to do this as a team, and you have to understand that this is what our words that we a lot of times we don't do this to music. Our words is what presents us. And if our words are messed up, we're messed up.
Right.
And so in that fine tuning, I have to be like gentle enough. While I'm being stern, I have to be gentle enough to say, okay, come down. These are actual words we're speaking. Enunciate. I need you to enunciate. I need you to pronounce that word correctly. So yeah, it definitely helps us be a better team, but not just in poetry, but even in a marriage. I have to use those techniques when I know that he feels very strongly about something, and even if I disagree, I have to be that soft voice to say, okay, husband, allow me to present it this way. And so that's how we work together.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that beautiful explanation of it. And then that's why I said I see the beauty in it and what it's done for the marriage. And let me get to the ministry part, and not just as Rhema Rhetoric. Recently, I know the church that you both attend, you all became the youth pastors. And so you got life, you got poetry, marriage, family, all this stuff. And now you both are responsible for this upcoming generation at your local place of worship. Um, I don't even know where to start with this, but is this something that you both, because I know through your ministry with your poetry, even with the example you're setting with your marriage, did you ever think that God was going to have you in the position as you are, that you're in currently as youth pastors?
I thought it was possible. I just didn't see it coming so fast. I
Okay.
mean, it came in a whirlwind. At the previous church, we became a part of the youth ministry, but something just wasn't meshing. We never like really got into the nitty gritty of that part. So we knew that in some capacity we would work with youth, but we didn't know that becoming youth pastors would come this fast when we went to another church.
Okay. Very, very good. Now, you both are very talented in many areas. I know you, Taneesha, are a former Marine, um, very skilled in your job. Chris, I know you've been in ministry for years, just being your brother known that as an elder. You've been an assistant pastor in the past, former musician. You got the poetry. um you all could be using so many areas, marriage, singles ministry, all this stuff that you all can help people. Why do you think God has put you in the position to deal with young people? Because you all could probably deal with married people, y'all could deal with arts, you could deal with media, y'all could deal with business leadership. There are so many areas based off your skill sets and what you both have been through and overcame, that you could be like, if you're coming into a ministry, a pastor be like, man, we could use it here. But God has put it, and I seen the service when you all were, consecrated and sanctified for the position of youth pastors. Why do you think God, with all of the skills that you have, and if you want to tie in the poetry, the marriage, why the young people? Not, and you all are not old. I wouldn't say you're out of touch. I think you all are very relatable, because in our family we have a lot of younger nieces and nephews. But why young people? Because you all could be used in so many areas. But why do you think God, and I believe that your pastor, I think he's an apostle, has come into an agreement and say that they have to be over the youth?
I would say, well, first, sending out and shout out to Apostle and Pastor Barbara Wilson at Full Gospel Christian Assemblies International in Hazel Crest. I You said something that's really key is that learning that when it comes to your leaders, those that watch for your souls, it is very vital that you're able to not only agree on the natural level, but that you agree on the spiritual level. When we got to Full Gospel, we didn't see this forthcoming in spite of where we both have been in ministry. Because I like, as you noted, I've had years of ministry and served in great ministry positions. Taneesha has also served in wonderful ministry positions. She's worked with youth before. She's worked with singles ministry, single young women before we met and got married. But when we got to Full Gospel, it was really, I could probably log it under one word and say obedience. Because Apostle didn't come to us immediately when we got there and say, hey, I want you all to do youth ministry. He just asked us to do a couple obedient things. There was a ministry gifts, an ascension gifts class that they had at the church that he asked us to become a part of. And we conceded, was like, we like, sure, we'll take the class. We did new members and we were just doing the things that our leaders, the ones again that watch for our souls, that asked us to do. And in the process of being obedient, you mentioned, my musical background. So I had went back to singing with the praise team and doing different things and still just the whole time being obedient. And when God spoke to our leaders and confirmed it in their spirit, they came to us. The ministry was in a state of transitioning, going through some, how, ministry goes through transitions. And the ministry just celebrated their 40th year anniversary of being in ministry. And we know what the validity of the number 40 is, dealing with the children of, Israel when they got delivered out of Egypt and how it switched, the 40-year generations, when Joshua took over, after conceding after, Moses and after the death of Moses and all of that. But the church itself was in that very same transition. Some of the older ministers and some of the older people at the church that have been serving or transitioning into, new areas. And God just gave it to Apostle. And when he brought it to us, it was confirmed in our spirit. We sat down and we talked about it. And the basis of it, I believe the key thing that you even said that, what God does for us, a lot of times we think that we have to be qualified before God uses us. But God will, the majority of the time, put us in place and positionings, and he qualifies us for it before we even know it. God will give us the position, and we're thinking we're not worthy, we're not capable, we're not able, but God knows us better than we know ourselves. And because of what you mentioned with the variety of things that we have collectively to bring, this is what this generation needs. They need people that can tap in and do basically what our parents and grandparents used to tell us. They used to tell us all the time, there is nothing new under the sun. And they would tell us, what you think you're doing, we've already done before. Or what you think you're getting away with, we've been there, done that. And so a lot of what we see within these young people is dealing with them because we have a heart for the future. And there is no way that you can deal with young people if you don't have a heart for the future. You have to be able to see like things that they'll go through, things that they're inspiring to do, and be able to redirect that. And if you can't redirect that, you end up failing at what you're doing. And the fact of that, as we mentioned with the marriage and ministry thing, because I honestly have learned how to be submissive when I need to, that everything doesn't have to be hardcore and just rough. Because, sometimes she does call me, she be like, you're so caveman, you're so just like
Just
primitive,
barbaric.
just like
Just barbaric.
barbaric, and like I said, she brings that softness to it, because sometimes, like the Bible says, a soft answer turneth away wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and I've had to learn that, but I've been able to learn that from her within our marriage, within our ministry. I've been able to learn how to give those soft answers. And even sometimes I'll just have to let her, you know what, baby, you go handle that. Because if I handle it, it's not going to come out with a soft answer. So
Right.
sometimes I have to let her deal with it. Even if it's a situation with the young people, you know what? You address that and I'll deal with this. Or this is where you're better at. So you deal with this. So it is about coming together. But again, the basis of it would honestly be obedience, us being obedient to what our leaders asked us to do as a prequel, even before God confirmed where he wanted to establish us in the meeting. And again, the word of God says, if you be willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land. So it was us just being willing and being obedient to what we were instructed to do, and God opened up this door.
Okay. And I think as we come to an end, and you thank you for the explanation about how God brought this about. And I love the young people. I always tell people my heart is always for the youth, because the first ministry I ever did was over young people. So I always want to be involved in young people. But when you spoke about the generation, church celebrating the 40 years, and all three of us are, we're a little past 40. I ain't giving out ages today, but 40 represents a generation. And the
God
Bible
bless you.
says there arose a generation that knew not God. So we have a generation that is present, generation that is raising up. We are facing this social media that many of our young people are learning so much about social media. All of social media is not portraying the truth about who God is, who Jesus is. And yes, we have young people that come to church. I know you all teach them. We have innovative ways of keeping our youth engaged, but it is truly a battle against what the enemy is portraying on social media. So my question to you two is, how do you all continue to impact the young people and showing them the truth and reality of who God is when they'll come with those questions? Well, I saw this on TikTok and they said that the Bible is this, or it's just a book, or God is this. How do you because I know for me, even just I'll just say my kids, sometimes having those conversations, it gets a little frustrating. They believe in God, the Bible, church, but because of the world around them, they come with some off the wall questions like, I ain't never taught or said that. But we have to answer, because this generation is not like our generation where they told us this is what it is, go sit down somewhere. That's what we did. This
Right.
generation will continue to know. I want to know. I'm not here to say I disbelieve or don't. In order for me to believe, you got to give me something more. I need a better explanation, because I may only come to church on Sunday, but I'm on TikTok 7 days a week. Even when I leave service, I'm gonna be on Instagram and I'm gonna hear what everybody else got to say. So I may only hear your voice on Sunday, maybe somewhere during the midweek service. So in that short amount of time, whenever you have the time to speak to them, to answer questions, how do you all make sure that I gotta do whatever I can to get this in them? And through the week, you may text them, call them, speak to the young people, depending on, but we know that they have more time in this world, and this world is not putting in them what we are trying to put in them. So how do you all address? I know you stated, Chris, that you see the need, what the young people need, but we know what we're up against. And how do you all, in those moments when you do have them, when you are ministering, when you are talking, when you are praying for them, how do you do everything that you can to say, I only got a few? And then we got our young people that are transitioning, going into college, going into this post-secondary lifestyle, going into work. So some of them, you don't even know if they get 18, 19, are you going to still even come to church? Because some families feel like once you get of a certain age, it's between you and God. I can't force you. So in those moments when you have them, how do you both, whether it's collectively, individually, however you all operate, and to kind of give guidance to those that are listening that may be in ministry dealing with young people, to help that this is just a method we use, or methods, to impact the young people whenever we have them. And even though we're up against everything else from the world that is trying to get into their minds, get into their spirits, and to defunct or disclaim who God is.
One of the things, one of the tactics that we use when we're teaching them is teaching them in, I guess you could say, like real time. Like instead of just reading from the book, we're actually doing activities in real time as it relates to the story. So we'll bring the story or the script, read the story of the scripture, but then we're doing activities, or we're bringing it, making it live for them so they could understand it. Also, we have a mantra that we've uh, been trying to motivate them, where we say, safe.
We speak truth.
Yeah, we speak truth. Safe place, safe space, built on love. So we try to also give them uh, a platform where they can be honest. And a lot, these kids, they are going through so much. They go through so much. I mean, like bullying in school, and people, putting them down, stuff that comes from their parents, just a lot of things. So we try to give them a safe space and a safe place to either speak to us in the classroom or speak to us individually. Also, we have testimonies that we can also share, things that we've been through that relates to them as well. So it's a constant thing where we just have to just have keep our eyes and ears open and just be there. And the interchange has to be present, like right then and there, and we deal with it right then and there.
Then the other part of that is the creation of that mantra made it to where we wanted them to know that, like you said, they're in this world and school and everywhere 7 days a week. And I've said this pretty much my whole life. I said, once your children like start school, they're out of your presence more than they are in your presence. So we want them to understand that when they come with us, they can be truthful. They don't have to hold back as long as you're doing it respectfully. They can be truthful, and you're not only in a safe place, but you're in a safe space. And we explain that to them with the focus of, like, you can be in a building, and that building itself can be safe, but you can go in a room in that building and not feel safe anymore. So let's say you go into a police station. Okay, you figure, hey, I'm at the police station. The police station is safe. But what if they put you in a cell in that police station with someone that's a serial killer or with a murder? So now you're not in a safe space. You're in a safe place, but now because you're in a particular room, you're no longer in a safe space. So we want them to know when they come with us, not only is the building itself safe, but the spaces that we inhabit, the classrooms with the teachers and stuff, those are safe spaces as well. Then we have them built on love. Everything we do is built on love. We know the Bible talks about love. That is what the basis of Jesus's ministry was, love. We're not coming back here to judge anybody. We don't care what your ethnic background is. We don't care what your skin color is. We don't care if you're Mexican. We don't care if you're Caucasian. We don't care if you're African American. We don't care if you're tall for your age. We don't care if you may not be as athletic as somebody else. Everything we do is built on love. It's built on loving everybody for who they are. We know what they deal with, like she was saying, with bullying and judging. We know what stuff that's going on with like the LGBTQ community and all of that. They're dealing with all of this. And like you mentioned, they dealing with this all week. And most of the kids don't necessarily come to Bible study. So you're only getting this information about who Jesus is, what his word says, how to deal with all of this stuff one day a week.
Mm-hmm.
So we've also what we're trying to do, because this is still fairly new, we're building relationships with them as well. So I may not get a chance to go to like the games or whatever, but at least Pastor Chris goes to like some of the youth. They have like sports events, but we want to get their schedules. We want to get to know them outside of church as well, so they will feel comfortable enough to speak to us. So the guidance actually has to go outside the building.
No,
Yes, go
yeah,
to
that's right.
volleyball games and basketball games and track meets and all of that stuff.
No, absolutely, man, and thank you both for giving us. I think that is very helpful, and then especially like I said, it's the basis of love and a relationship that helps. I had a young person that I deal with. They called. They're in college, doing some stuff for work, and they were able to call me. I have to have a meeting with them next week to assist them with something, but it's that relationship. I've done that for young people. I've been to the games and all this stuff. What you got going on, give me your schedule, because it's very easy to sit and give some young people the word. I believe our generation was that generation where, yes, we got the word, we understand the Bible, but a lot of that outside support that we needed. I didn't see the youth pastor or the elder or the deacon at my track meet, at my football game, at my scholastic awards. That thank you for the word, thank you for putting in me the word of God, and it's helped me where I'm at today. But I needed support in some other areas too, because maybe I didn't have a mom, maybe I didn't have a dad, maybe mom and daddy was working or they were gone, and you were somebody that I looked up to and respected, and I needed to see more than just you giving me the word. Even sometimes it was forced down our throats, whether we wanted it or not.
Right.
But it's very important with this generation to have those relationships, because they need to see, and it helps bring them in more to have those conversations. When you see that, you just see that I love Jesus' whole ministry was based off of love. So I need to see, yes, I respect you, Pastor Chris, Pastor Taneesha, but I need to see if you really love me, because if you're going to tell me about Christ and his love, that love should show through us. So that was very important when that was stated by you both, that it's based off the love and relationship. I'm giving you the word of God, but I want you to know past that, I can show you that love that I'm telling you about. I'll show up for you outside of the church. That is so essential, that I know me growing up as a young person, I wish I would have got more of that, because I look back on my life and some of my accomplishments that I had in high school, junior high. And yeah, it was nice to have mama there, family there. But it's like, man, I wish I would have had some of these other people that I respected to this day, still have high regard of. Could you have taken the time to come see me pass, playing the drums, giving Easter speeches? I was more than just a little boy you saw in church. There was a lot I had going on, and I ain't see you there. Doesn't make me dislike you, but what if you would have been there? How much more of that motivated me? So that is so essential. And now these young people, when they do go to college, when they do go into that next part of their life, they start coming back. They start reverting back. That's one way we keep them. And now you have the young, because my pastor, one of my former pastors said this, if you don't have a youth ministry, you're going to be at a risk of one day not having a church.
That's
Because if
true.
all the young people leave, we all getting older. So if you ain't bringing these young people up, yeah, send them to college and all that. But once they're done with all of that, you hope they come back and take those skills and stuff and become part of the ministry and continue to help the ministry grow. But we have to give those relationships and then those acts of love. So that was so essential for you two to mention that. So thank you all for that. So as you have shared poetry, marriage, and ministry with us, what does Rhema Rhetoric have coming up that I know stuff y'all got coming up, but I don't want to say it. You all are definitely developed. And I forgot to mention they are also recording artists. Go to Spotify, look them up. They have Apple Pod, not just the pod, Apple Music. They are recording artists. Like I said, the accolades is just ridiculous, and it's not enough that you all have done so much. And I know you got stuff coming up, but I don't want to speak about it. But I want you, because I know you all about to be featured on something. I am definitely a fan, not just because I'm a family member, but the artistry, the craft that you all do, and those in the spoken word community. It is amazing. Hopefully, this is going to be a segue that once your fellow colleagues see this, that they're going to want to come on the show as well. I hope so. Because I want to promote the spoken word artists even more, because it's a beautiful thing, this artistry and what you all do. But what does Rhema Rhetoric have coming up that the people need to know about?
We're going to let the administrator get his information.
Okay, so on the 27th of January, the I Recite, IEYE Recite, what is it? Is it like an open mic? There's an open mic presented by I Recite. We were featured on one of our friends' track called Siki, our friend Kai Love, and she's doing a video on the west side at a place called Tag, also known as the Artist Grounds. And that address is 4109 West Roosevelt Road, Chicago, Illinois. It's an open mic. We want people to come and give testimonies. It's also going to be the video for Seek Ye, where we also did the track, and we're giving testimonies on the track. We was spiritual rappers. You know what I mean? And so there are going to be a few special guests. We have April Thomas, the poet how do you pronounce it? Eros in Mahogany Brick House, who are like amazing artists. And yeah, and it's free. And it's gonna be from what time? From 11:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. January 27th. So invite people to come, give testimonies. It's free. It's gonna be some light refreshments. And we just want everybody to come out, tell everybody what God has done for them.
I'm not gonna tell his, age, but that may be something for Jay Jackson to do for his weekend birthday celebration. That will be right after his birthday. Hey, it's okay to still ride with age, 30. That's okay. It's still okay to ride with.
Right, 30 for the 10th time. You can tell people.
You can still, you can go ahead and ride with that. But yes, like he mentioned, you can find our recording. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. It was I ain't gonna say it was, it is a Grammy accepted project. So it was accepted to the Grammys, the Recording Academy. The title of the project is.
And the two became one, the Love-You-Mentary. And we both have individual tracks as well as tracks together. So we came together and did this project.
Very, very true. That's why I said I know about all this stuff. And what's the best way for people to follow you? Where are you guys at on social media? Rhema Rhetoric, I'm a writer, Black Butterfly. What is the best ways you want people to follow you so they can stay informed? And that's why I said I know about a lot of this stuff because they post, they're very active on their social media. But to those that are listening, that are trying to find more about Rhema Rhetoric or you two as individual artists, where are the best social media platforms to follow you and connect with you at?
Administrator?
You know what? Okay, so Instagram, we have rhema.rhetoric.poetry. So that's the Rhema Rhetoric page. I have a Black Butterfly page on Instagram. Black spell BLAQUE _ butterfly BUTTERFLI 7207. He is I Am Poetry 28 on Instagram. We also have a Rhema Rhetoric page on Facebook. My Facebook page is Taneesha Jackson. He has 2 pages. You can tell people who you are on Facebook.
My Facebook is really simple. It is my stage name, which is I Am a Writer. So IAMAWRITER. That is my specific artist page. So anything that I'm posting on pieces, whether it's videos, if there's any problem finding that, you can just put in my first name, Christopher, then put IAAW Jackson.
No. IAAW.
Well, I said double A. See? That's what I be talking about. They're edited. You see how she see?
Well, I listen as a person that is going to find the page. But anyway, I also have another page, my artist page, Black Butterfly Inc. That is also on Facebook. So it's BLAQUE BUTTERFLI Inc. INK.
I'm starting doing thing in sign language. Watch. Okay,
let's see.
Be like this.
So definitely in the description, we're going to have all this information so that you can follow them. I believe we also have another one, poetic.trucker. That's Chris is on his TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's the TikTok. Yeah.
Taneesha, I don't know if do you have a TikTok?
I do. You'll see the name Renee J RENEEJAY, but it's also Black Butterfly, like it is on Instagram, Black Butterflies 7207.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
because I forgot about the poetic trucker. Because I actually put a lot of stuff on there.
Absolutely. So I want all the listeners to go out and follow them on these different websites. The content is great. Like I said, they post the information about shows, not only about themselves, the other artists that are within their spoken word community. They promote them. So not only will you get Rhema Rhetoric, I'm a Writer, Black Butterfly, you will get a lot of other great people. I don't want to start naming names because you all are associated with so many different artists. Like I said, I've seen some of the people that they perform with, and you will not be displeased. You will be blessed, inspired. The stories, I think that's one of the greatest things I can say as we're getting ready to go out. One of the biggest things I've taken from just not their shows and their colleagues in the spoken word community is that the stories, you just not hearing poetry, you're just not hearing words. Through their work that these spoken word artists do, and you're hearing about their life. There are some pieces I've heard from different artists where it's like, wow, you hear their names and some of their pieces tell their life story that led to their names, what they went through, what they overcame, and who they are now. So people are telling their life through the artistry of poetry. So that's why I said it's more like a ministry, because in those rooms are sitting some of the same people that have gone through, are going through what they've been through. And a simple thing that you're coming to think you're hearing poetry, and somebody can be pulling you out of something in your life or giving you a way to overcome it. And that's why I say poetry is more than just words, it's more than just stanzas, it's a ministry. So like I said, I can't name all the people that you all go with, your artists and the colleagues, but the pieces are just amazing because it could be life changing. Some of these pieces almost have you in tears. I've heard some stuff from some of their performances and people I've been with to where, man, I'm gonna go cry in the car. I'm not gonna cry in front of everybody. But man, this stuff is like, it's serious, man. It'll hit you right here when you see it. And then the support that's why I said, as you follow them, you're going to get interested in other people, because that's what I see, the love and support that they have for each other. I don't see no division, no strife. They all trying to help each other get put out there, get noticed. They all got hearts of gold. So it's just a beautiful platform. So for any of you that are listening, that want to get involved, I would say connect with them as well. You all can almost teach a class on this stuff. I don't know if you have, but I believe you all can teach people how to be developed in this artistry. Definitely, just the things that I see in you and the other spoken word artists that you all have, very developed. And like you said, their piece was Grammy. It was accepted into the Grammys. Come on now. When I talk about accolades, how many people do you know personally that have music or something out there that was accepted in for Grammy nominations? So, these are not just people that's just spewing out words. This is artistry. This is technique. This is a professionalism about it. So let's appreciate our own. This is what the celebration of conversation is all about. We got people right here around us, family, friends. This is what this part of my podcast is all about. Let's appreciate the people that we got right in our communities that are doing great things. I want to feature them. So if you know somebody that I should interview, you want to get their product out there, their business, whatever they're doing, these are the people that I'm looking for. We got people right here that we need to appreciate. I don't know if I'll ever had a big name celebrities on the show. If that's God's will, then that's fine. But I want the people that's right here in our community, our next door neighbors, the people in our families, the people in our churches that are doing amazing things that don't get talked enough about. Those are the people I want on the celebration of conversation. So any last words from you, Rhema Rhetoric, before we go out?
Administrator?
No, go ahead.
Well, just collectively, we want to say that again, we're honored. We definitely count it as a act of favor from God that you chose to have us on here. We don't take it for naught, nor do we take it for granted that you are family, because we understand that people just in general don't have to do anything, no matter what platforms they have or what accessibility that they have to be able to open up these opportunities. So it's definitely collectively, we're 100% thankful and we appreciate it. And we will be recommending some individuals for you. And I'll put out a number one individual right now, the one that we're doing the event with on the 27th, Miss Kai Love. You definitely need to have her on the celebration of conversation.
She is definitely, if anyone has ever met her and once they left her presence didn't love her, then something is definitely wrong with them.
Such a well-rounded individual within artistry, professionally, educationally. She's again a wonderful individual. Her and her husband, who is also a spoken word artist as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, then we're gonna definitely get to that. I know some other ones that you all have that, and seeing them, like I said, I ain't gonna call all their names, but hopefully you all are gonna see them here, because anybody that does art, that's always one of my favorite questions. Why did you fall in love with poetry, music, art, this and that? Why did you fall? And then we build on it from there, because you never know what somebody's passion was, what led them to what they're doing, where it's more than just an art. It's a passion, it's a ministry, and it's being used to touch so many others. So I definitely want to thank Rhema Rhetoric for being a part of the celebration of conversation right here on the New Beginnings podcast. Man, don't forget, go follow, check me out, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, at Spotify podcast. I'm doing this so that I can uplift, inspire, encourage, and help other people. That's all I want to do. We want to keep it positive on the show. This is a free open space. So far, every time that I've done an interview, one thing that I love, I've got people on here before who don't really even talk that much. And at the end of the conversation, they say, Jermaine, you make this such a safe space. It feel like I'm talking to family. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. That this is a family session. One of my past guests, Lori Wilcox, very prominent figure in the local community. Friends of she definitely know y'all. And she went to school with my brother. And she definitely said, you made this feel like a session with fam. She's like, I feel like I'm talking to your brother. I feel like I'm talking to family. That's my goal. I want you to be comfortable. I have no malicious intent. I never put anybody out there bogus. We're going to highlight the positives in your life, what you overcame, what you've been through, your successes. That's what this is all about. Helping people stay built up, stay encouraged. I'm investing and building people up. So that's what the celebration of conversation is. That's what the New Beginnings podcast is all about. We got enough terrible stuff going on in the world. We need more platforms for positivity, for building people up. And that's what this is all about. Some for me, Jermaine Jackson, for Rhema Rhetoric. Love y'all. Join us next time in celebration of conversation. Appreciate y'all. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Put it in the comments what you like. If you want to see certain guests, like I said, let's continue to network and reach out, and we'll do our best to get them on here. Until next time, catch y'all later.
Peace.